Welcome back to another nightly video. Today we're going to be talking about love and the universe, and this is actually coming to us from a question by our brother Rahaf. Thank you, Rahaf, for the question. Could I share more about how embracing love can impact our understanding of the universe? I did record a video yesterday called Love is the Answer to the Questions of the Universe. It was actually a lyric I wrote for my sister's wedding. And so he asks, how can embracing love impact our understanding of the universe? Great question. Excellent question. The first most fundamental point is thinking about what love is, right? And as I'm describing love, you can see that I'm actually describing the universe. And as I'm describing universe, you can see that I'm describing love. Like, what is the universe? Well, the universe is an open space. It's expansive. It's interconnected. It's creative. It gives and it continues to evolve. It creates, it produces, and it includes. So love does all of those same things. And when you begin to really imbue your life with love, love for your God, love for the universe, love for others, love for yourself, when you begin to do that, you start to see how the love that you feel when it begins to be part of your existence, when you begin to embody it, the love that you feel for anything is the same love. It's not different. It doesn't even have a different quality to it because love in its purest form is also a feeling of gratitude. It's a feeling of, if it was verbalized into a phrase, it would be just thank you for this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for existing. That is kind of like how I would verbalize love in my own mind. And you can think about it when you really love somebody and you say, I love you. But yeah, I love you so much. And you tell your mom or your dad, I love you. Or you tell your wife that you love them. It's because you feel so connected to them. You feel like there's a mutual understanding there. You appreciate them so much. That's what love is, right? Love is that interconnection. It's that appreciation. It's that mutual understanding that you're having with that person. You feel like you're one with them. And this is not erotic love, right? Like we talk about, or philosophers talk about the different types of love, which is philia or philia, as they say, which is the friendship love. And there's the eros, which is the erotic love. And there's the agape, right? Or they say agape, right? But these are all Greek words, which is the love that Jesus demonstrated in the Bible, which is this transformative type of love. Because fundamentally, if you think about those other two types of love that people talk about in Greek, they're not framed that way, right? Because when people talk about philia and and uh, and eros, they're actually not framed in terms of love. So when you tell somebody "I love you" in Greek, it's sagapo, se agapo, I love you, right? So that agape, it's only framed in that way, right? So because the other two are really friendship, it's really deep friendship, which is fantastic, and also like the eroticism, erotic, romantic love. They're not the same. They're not the same as the love that we're talking about, right? That creative, connected force where we just feel like everything makes sense, right? And this person, we just feel like they're a part of us. So when you look at the universe and when you see what the universe is actually doing, the universe is giving, it's producing, it's creating. Think about what happened from the Big Bang until this point. Think about what happens as far as the formation of planets, formation of solar systems, stars, how the stars provide heat to different planets so that they will create different atmospheres depending on their composition. So anything that happens in the universe is good. And the reason it's good is because it's part of the system that created what we're experiencing. So you might be thinking I'm insane at this point. How can you say that everything that's happening is good? Because we could see all of the tragic events that happen in history. The reason I'm saying that is because if you look at it from a perspective, because again, I don't want to speak about things that may seem out of line to some people and very offensive, but even Viktor Frankl, who was in the concentration camps, he wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning, probably the best book I've ever read. Sorry, I take that back. One of the best books I've ever read. If you haven't read that book, please read it. It's really about his journey, his life in the concentration camps, his state of mind, and the conclusions that he came to as a result of having those experiences, is that he found purpose in everything that he was doing, even in the worst conditions. So think about that for just a moment. Is that even in the worst, most heinous, dirtiest, most vicious and cruel and evil conditions, you can find purpose, you can find meaning if you use this instrument properly, right? And that's what we're trying to do on this particular channel, is use this instrument to benefit our character, the principles that we're developing, how we're relating to the world, the virtues that we live up to, the relationships that we're having, and fundamentally how we're relating to ourselves, and what kind of impact that we're having, whatever impact that is, in different methods and different ways. So that's why I'm saying that everything that happens in the universe is only good because it's happening, right? So you have to ask yourself, well, what is God's will? Well, God's will is everything that's happening. So how can it be bad if it's God's will? Because God, you might not like the word because you have some associations with it, but you can replace God with the creator, the creative force of the universe, creative forces, the universe itself, universal energy, the source of everything. You can call it whatever you want, but fundamentally it's this thing, or this energy, this force, this being, whatever, right, that produces everything. And when you're using this properly, you can see how everything that is produced can be of service, can be of benefit. So what that means is that when we think in the way that I just described, we're actually coming closer and closer to the true nature of the universe, which is love, which is understanding that the most effective way to be in your life, you can strip away everything else, right? And if you had to prioritize one thing, it would be love. It would not be courage. It would not be humility. And listen to what I'm saying, because all of these things that I'm saying are not priorities, are mandatory for human beings to have, as far as us being able to have really good relationships and produce what we want to produce, etc. But if you had to take only one thing, because you could have courage without love. Think about that. Think about who would you be without love, if you had courage without love? Or what if you were honest without love? And you just were honest, but you were cold, you couldn't connect with people, you weren't grateful, right? Because the thing is that you can't have gratitude without love either. Because gratitude in and of itself, when you're showing appreciation, is actually a demonstration of love. Because remember what love is. Love is an acknowledgement. It's a mutual understanding. It's a connectedness with something or someone, right? So you're really relating to them on a level where you have that mutual understanding. It's like you sink into mutual understanding and resonance with that person or with that thing. That's what love is. And that's the exact same thing that real gratitude is about as well. Because when you truly love someone or something with your heart, right, you don't just say the words, but you actually feel it. That feeling, it's the same feeling as gratitude. And gratitude, it's not conversely, it's gratitude is the same feeling. When you truly feel gratitude, you really, that's what you're feeling is love. So let's say, for example, you're doing something, you're working late at night, and your significant other, brings you a plate of hot food. You had no idea that they were cooking. And you look at them and you're like, oh my God, thank you so much. Right? You said thank you because you're so appreciative, but the way you light up, the way you feel internally, the way you look at your significant other, that's love. So whether you say in that moment, thank you so much, or I love you, it's the same thing. Gratitude and love are the same thing. So when you start to feel these emotions and you start to infuse these emotions in your day-to-day life, when you start to inject these emotions in your daily process, because like I said, I have alarms that go off on my phone every hour on the hour to remind me to pray. And when I pray, what do? Those are the two things that I do, right? I give thanks and I show love, right? Because again, the way you use those two things are going to be a little bit different depending on what you're relating to and the context. So it's very often the case that I will tell myself that I will love myself and simultaneously thank God as well. And those two things are interchangeable, right? I can thank myself and I could tell God, I love God, or because it's really what you're trying to do here is you're trying to relate to everything in such a way that allows you to feel not separate, right, from whatever it is that you're relating to. Because when people talk about non-judgment, again, it's the same concept. Because think about where everything came from. Because let's go back to Rahaf. Let's go back to your question. How can it impact our understanding of the universe? Well, the universe, as we know, came from one origin, right? So if you look at the Big Bang, you could take the scientific perspective, whatever perspective, but the consensus is that the Big Bang occurred. And even if you look at religious texts, God went, bang, and just created everything. So whether you believe in the Big Bang or God or a being, it doesn't really matter. The point is it's coming from one place. It's coming from a source, right? There's a source that created everything, but that source is the origin, and everything came from that origin, which means that the origin and everything that was created from it are the same thing. They're one and the same. A baby, a kid, has 50% DNA from its mother, 50% DNA from its father, right? So even though it's its own being, it's intimately connected with its parents. It can't be any other way. So we're intimately connected with the universe. The 13.8 billion years that we've been, well, the Earth has been around for roughly 3.5 billion years. The universe has been around for roughly 13.8 billion years, according to recent estimates. But we can say that we have been evolving along with the universe for that long. So everything that we are, everything that you are, is a function of 13.8 billion years of evolution. It's a function of that. So when you look out at the night sky, when you think of God, it's not a separate thing, right? It's literally a part of you. So the universe is literally a part of you. And there are scientists who actually figured out, and I believe this was in Richard Dawkins' book, The Selfish Gene, or one of those earlier popular science books written by respected scientists, is that if you take a being and you dissect that being and you examine its constituent parts, you can determine what the environment is like based off of the composition of that being. So you can determine the gravity of the space, the atmosphere of the environment. You can determine how much oxygen. You can determine all the chemical elements of that environment. So basically, by examining a being, you can also get an understanding of what the environment looks like. So our consciousness necessarily is a reflection of the universe, which means that when we're feeling love, when we're feeling that interconnectedness, expansiveness, creativity, understanding, gratitude, when we're experiencing all of that and everything feels like it makes sense and we just feel like we're at one with everything because we're grateful for everything, because we understand that all of that contributed to our existence, that's literally the universe. You're experiencing universal feelings when you have that feeling of love and gratitude. So, Rahaf, I don't know if this was a little bit too like off the wall, spiritual, philosophical, but what I really wanted to do is tune into what I was experiencing and really answer your question from a very sincere place and not a very contrived place where I would just, because normally what I do is with the questions, I don't do a bunch of research and read a bunch of books. I speak from my own personal experience. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this was, warm, enlightening, whatever you want to call it. And I really appreciate the question, man. I really appreciate the question. Please ask more. Anybody else watching, please ask questions, because I love these questions. I love answering your questions. They're motivating, right? They're inspiring. The channel is still small, so I love to see them. So if you like the video, like it, subscribe to the channel. School group is live. It's also free. So if you want to speak to me personally, do like one-on-one conversations, or we can do this live, then join. I do group calls every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern in there. But that's it for me. Hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you next time.